if that's the case, then why don't the Minister of Justice review, their composition? And if there's a need to change anything, be it an act of parliament, whatever it is, we do that to ensure that they respond, they come to parliament for accountability.
Okay, I would suggest you engage Ministry of Justice also directly, because we've provided an explanation. I think it's onus on them also.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll organize a meeting.
Yeah.
You people, Minister of Finance, Minister of Justice, together and us, and the NAO.
Okay.
We'll have a 4.
I think we sent a resolution. Now they responded. Justice is here to respond. We'll send them a reminder, and then since the deadline has elapsed, I'm suggesting we extend it to end of December. Yeah. No, they were not the only institution that did not respond. So I'm coming. What we do is a reminder for them to act. Okay, you have a point on that. Yes, I'm seeing your point. So the deadline has elapsed, and then we have not received any response, and we are not referring this case to the police, something like that. So they need to explain. Yeah, let's extend the deadline to end of December and remind them. Money? I think I will give you feedback on some of the. So we are now on 31. So the other ones, I will remind. Let me get, okay, for 31. Yes. Finance responded then that they are engaging the relevant authorities, and then we have not got any response from judiciary, so we have to send them a reminder, and the deadline extended to end of December 2023. Yes. End of December. Number 32. The PS Finance be held responsible for all penalties on the late payments on loans, interest, and commitment charges for the untimely utilization of project disbursements with effect from September 2023. That's in course. Huh? Yes? It's on course?
Yes, at least for those ones that are within our control, we'll make sure that, there are, sometimes there is delays in payments within our control, others are outside of our control. For instance, let me give an example. Before we process any debt service payments, we need to get the payment advice from the creditor. So if that comes late, and for government, it has to go through series of processes, from within finance to accountant general to central bank before they pay. But it starts with the editors first giving us the repayment advice. So at least on our, we do follow up actually up to central bank, but I'll not take excuse for all that. We have started some serious work on this. But sometimes the issue is from the creditor. If they send us late, here the internal processes sometimes takes long before we get it paid. But we'll do a lot of improvements on our side to address this issue of late payment. Well, I'm seeing the issue of commitment charges on disbursements. I'm not sure what the specific issue is. Mr. Honorable Mbo?
Yes, when you sign some loans, you are required they give a timeline on when you do the disbursement and stuff. And sometimes what we have seen is like it seems you are not ready to receive the money to do whatever expenditure. So what we are saying is like, if you're going to sign, make sure you are ready to implement whatever the project is, because you'll be receiving the money, and then for 3 months, 6 months or more, nothing actually happening. And at that time, you are actually still also paying. So if you are not ready to take the loan or to implement the loan, we say you get yourself together, essentially what we are saying.
All right. So then I'm correct to say that there are a lot of things that is outside the control of the Minister of Finance if it comes to payment of commitment charges, because we are just negotiating a loan on behalf of a government entity, and it is the responsibility of that government entity to implement those projects. Project implementation of project has several issues. The problem can emanate from the donor itself. We can see GRA. We've just done a request for no objection from a bank, and it has taken them 5 months or more than 5 months, even for them to respond. So some of the problems can be design issues. We've seen one in agriculture. When it comes to the implementation of the project, they realize that like their intention was to do about 1,500 hectares, but when it comes to the implementation, they realized that they made an error in the costing at that time. So when it was tendered, the most responsive, the prices they have offered is far more than what they have signed off in the agreement. So because of that, you have to change the design again. And going through that process also takes a long time. It's between you and the donor and the contractors. So project implementation, we've seen another example is education. The University of the Gambia, it has taken nearly 12 years now. Because when the initial design was agreed and signed, even before we start to implement, there was a change in the design of the original thing. But these are things that are even outside of that institution. Like the former president decided that the design of the university, it must be changed. He doesn't like that design. But even that change of design led to the cost going up significantly. And because of that, the donors are saying, look, what we have originally agreed is this. We are going by that. So then funding of that defense is either will be the responsibility of government or not. So this led to a protracted delay in the implementation of this project. So there is a lot of issues when it comes to, but to say Minister of Finance is responsible for all those things, like the example I gave in the case of agriculture, is very complex. So we can be accountable for the projects that we are implementing as a Minister of Finance. But to say that a design problem in another project done by, well, we are not technicians in agriculture, in engineering, roads. We are not competent in that. The only thing we can do is when those feasibility assessments are done, those are the information we take and negotiate on behalf of government. But the responsibility and accountability for those commitment charges that is caused by a number of issues. It's just, I just want to bring this up so that we understand how commitment charges can come, what leads to government incurring a lot of commitment charges. Because a lot of the other things that happen is outside of our control. Yeah, but for late debt service payments, we will improve on that.
Yes, I think we understand what the PS is saying. And again, you go back to the Public Finance Act. It gives a really responsibility of the Minister of Finance. So essentially, you cannot leave those ministries in isolation. From the project design, negotiate everything. I think you should play a critical role. And in fact, even before you go to sign in those loans, the Minister of Finance should be in a very good position to tell whether this is actually feasible or not. Because again, when you look at the Minister of Agriculture or MOPSI, they do not have the economists that you have. They do not have the finance expert that you actually have. So, and I think there's a need for you to guide them as well along the way. Because at the end of the day, it's the Minister of Finance that is responsible to ensure that all these loans or grants that we actually have actually are done properly. So it's your responsibility. So you cannot live in isolation. Time to time, you may have some issues here and there. We understand that. But again, you must not say or isolate yourself from the fact that they have not done A, B, C on it, and that is resulting to a charge which actually could have been prevented. Because if you take a project design, of course, you look at it, you will not definitely know there is something wrong. You know, if the project design is going to take you 2 years to prepare, and your financials also were prepared, 1 year ago or 2 years ago, and you expect the same thing to be current, it's not going to work. So, and I think what we are saying is for you to take more responsibility to ensure that you guide them, to ensure that you also take a look at their activities to ensure that it's in line to prevent all these unnecessary charges from happening. That's all we are saying.
Yeah, but we don't have the engineering capacity to say, let's say, 1,500 hectares of land to do land development for 1,500 hectares of land. This is what it's going to cost. You rely on engineers to do that, and also our state. We don't have that capacity. That's one thing. Secondly, even if those engineers do all that and cost it, if it comes to tender, we've seen that in the case of IEC, what they had in the budget, and when they tendered, the amounts are very different. Because the contractors sometimes they have more expertise than even the consultants we hire. Some of them are international consultants we hire to do these feasibility studies for us. The same thing with the Senegambia Bridge or Transgambia Bridge. When the design was done and costed, and when the outcome of the tender was very different from what was even in the estimate. Because remember, these are also done by international consultants who came and did this on behalf of government. But when there was tender, when the contractors came, they did their assessments. They noticed that even the piles that should be used should be bigger than what is in the design itself. And they are also, apart from the piles, they are also saying that I think the issue of the height was of the bridge. So these contractors can raise more issues than even what the international consultants we hire to do some of these feasibility studies. They are different. They are very different. So yeah.
I think that's where we have a problem. Because if the international consultants are our own local consultants actually are more up to date, they can do better. We have a problem. So why can't we use our own? That's going to. They are on the ground. They know this country more than any one of them. And you gave an example like IEC, for example. When they came to Parliament here, we realized that the pricing that they actually have on those contracts were not reasonable, and we cut the budget. But it was later on the Minister of Finance, they came back to us, the Parliament, to ask us to give them more money to do the A, B, C, and D. So for me, that's where we have an issue. I think you must not leave this institution in isolation when they're doing the project appraisal and stuff like that. When they do the project design, I think you should find a way to be involved, to ensure that at least we have value for money, and to ensure that also when the projects actually, they will be fruitful. Because otherwise, at the end of the day, it's going to be a loss for all of us, No,
I agree, and we are involved because, and we have updates that we can give you. We prepare. We normally engage all project managers, and they give us updates. Sometimes we do what jointly with our donors, what we call country portfolio performance review. We have all those reports. So that gives us an idea of individually, that is project by project, who is performing or not, and what are the constraints, and how we jointly address those constraints. We do that every 6 months, sometimes every quarter, it depends. We do it quarterly ourselves from the office, but in collaboration with the donors, we do it every 6 months, so that we understand every project, what your constraints are, and how those constraints can be addressed on both sides, whether from government or from the donor side.
Yeah, for me, my final note on this one is, I think you need to, as a ministry, you need to start thinking about having a single project coordinating unit for the government of the Gambia. with proper monitoring and evaluation officers. Project management itself, I think, is an art. So if you leave it in the hands of the other ministry that do not have the capacity, at the end of the day, it's the Minister of Finance that will be responsible. And I think maybe there's a need for you to take a deliberate step to completely review how projects actually are designed, how projects are implemented in the Gambia. And for me, I strongly believe to have a centralized project coordination unit. This is outside this thing anyway, but I'm just saying you think about it. Centralized project coordination unit with effective monitoring and evaluation officers that would sit and then look at each of the ministry what they're doing and trying to advise the Minister of Finance. And I think if you have a proper coordination, I think some of the issues we have in our projects in the country across the board, I think some of the issues will reduce. But at the end of the day, when you have a project, the intent is to make an impact on the life and the livelihoods of the Gambians. But what we are seeing in many projects, we have a lot of issues. But again, at the end of the day, they will point finger at the Minister of Finance because it's your responsibility also to manage the economy very well. So think about it. But anyway, thank you.
Just a final one. Honorable Mbo have said it all. But for me, what I'm seeing is I think we have a central planning problem. So, and I think the salient point raised by Honorable Mbo and the revelations made by the peers only brought two things to mind. One, if at all you realize huge variations with regards to the plan and the actual implementation, do you have any good examples where you can show us that those variations resulted in increments on the overall project cost, and at the end of the day, the project ends out to be sustainable, even though the additional financing was shouldered by the Gambia government? Do you have any project that you can take as an example, where the initial design, based on the feasibility survey, varied with the actual implementation, and the additional cost was shouldered by the Gambia government, and after implementation, after the financing, the project became sustainable? Do we have one? Just one.
One is the bridge. Yes, one is the bridge, and the second one is the University of the Gambia, the UTG Faba Bantang campus project. The one I also give you on agriculture, I think it's a regional rice value chain project in agriculture. You have a host of them. I don't remember them offhand, but we have a lot of. The other one is some of the roads funded to the Ministry of Works, like this North Bank roads, lot 1 or lot 2. There are a lot of price variations there. So yes, a lot of them. I can't.
With the bridge, these are tangible ones. You can talk about the bridge, the UTG. These are infrastructural developments. So, looking at those successes would be dependent on the completion of those projects, not necessarily on their sustainability. So, let's now take a deeper concentration on the social sectors. For example, the Ministry of Agriculture. Because why are we bringing this salient point? Many a times, projects fail here. Many a times. They do fail. So now, if at all we have a revelation from you that basically we have a problem in the planning, I think that is a central point that even if at all we have to spend more time on, we should. Because that is important. That is very, very important. So I'm pretty sure if we have a checklist of this, you go through these projects, you will realize that everything is on the feasibility. And the rice value chain project with the Ministry of Agriculture, is it a success now? Let's forget about the bridge and the UTG. Those ones, their sustainability is on another level. But let's look at the rice value chain itself. That one is more complex, and that's where we need sustainability, because they have a direct impact on the lives and livelihoods of the people.
You know, sustainability will talk about what happens after the project is implemented. Well, I think that rice value chain is still active. It is not completed yet. So they are thinking of redesigning it in line with the what has happened. But you know, some of the project variations can happen. It can be either physical variations or price variations. So, and after the Russia-Ukraine war, we are seeing a lot of price variations.
I think there is a bill that was laid before the assembly that will take care of some of the projects that he's referring to, maybe buildings, public buildings. But again, since the issue is about these loans and commitment charges, so could NAWEC and civil aviation be part of those institutions that are causing these charges? For instance, we understand that government has taken over $4 billion on lending loan for NAWEC. Are they paying it back?
Well, they started paying, you know, in either 2018 or 2019, government decided to take some of the loans from NAWEC, and we are currently servicing about 2 loans from NAWEC, if I don't forget, the NAWEC bond and also the debt owed by NAWEC to Social Security. Those two I know government is, and a lot of investments you are seeing in the electricity sector, government is the one servicing those debts. No, it's not NAWEC. It is government is took that debt itself and invested in that sector. So government is the one servicing that debt, but not necessarily NAWEC. But of course, we came to an agreement at some point that part of the debt NAWEC should pay. They started paying up to 2021, but since 2020, the beginning of 2022, they are finding it difficult to repay some of the listed debts we asked them to service back to government. But in general, the significant amount of debt government takes to invest in the electricity sector is a burden of government. We are the ones servicing those debts directly.
So, but what mechanism do you have in place to at least assess what improvement that has brought to this energy generation? For many of us, we believe, like even water, we were told that the demand is more than the production of water. And in simple economics, when the demand is high, you boost your production. So, and still people are battling with water shortage, inadequate water supply. So meaning that government is just pumping money to NAWEC without the desired objective.
Thank you for raising this one. It's a very important question or an issue. I think the issue has been that government over the years has been investing a lot in electricity and very little in water. To be quite honest, a lot of the investments are, if you check the composition of debt that goes to electricity and water is just negligible. So all the investments we are doing in that sector is mainly skewed or concentrated towards electricity. There has been very little investments in water sector. This is what we have observed, and we have started our priority towards investments in water sector, both on the governance aspect of water management and on the infrastructure part of it also. The priority was more on electricity than water from government, but that priority is now shifting now. We have started giving a lot of emphasis also on water production, but the price for both water and electricity That is regulated by government.
Other thing, like now,
The submission. Honorable members, it's 2 o'clock. And then I will suggest that we break for 30 minutes for prayers and then continue by 2:30. Is that okay? Okay, can somebody, yeah, the 16 is suspended until 2:30. Huh? This one is suspension.